It's been a little over a week since this nation was struck by grief, that tragedy that froze all of us in this country. 8 of our own, 5 public servants, 3 soldiers who were going to Obuasi to launch a program perished. Today, they've all been buried. Their mission was to help launch the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, that new initiative by government designed to confront one of our gravest challenges of this time, illegal mining or Galamsey. This program is built on 3 pillars: responsible cooperative mining schemes, skill development, and alternative livelihoods, and the restoration of degraded lands. And this was meant to be more than just another speech-giving day, more than another committee. One intended to be a practical step towards saving our lands, our rivers, and our communities from the greed that is eating them alive. And so, as we bury these 8 heroes of our country, are we really committed to get to the bottom and deal with Galamsey decisively as an honor to their memory? We'll connect on these matters after this break.
Momo. It has made life happen in lots of good ways.
Mr. Kwanzaa, Mr. Insurance claim no.
It has put together beautiful weddings. It has filled the bellies of boys at their favorite watchy joint.
My guy, stop. Who they chop cancel these days?
It has made millions of businesses possible.
No. We are back in business.
With just a few taps, money moves faster, easier, and safer. Momo understands the weight of your trust in us. We continuously enhance security with features like self-paying reset to help you protect your money. Momo will only call you with 0244 300,000. No MTN or Momo staff will call or ask for your PIN or one-time password. Do not transfer funds to anyone whose identity you have not verified. Do not approve any prompts you have not initiated. Momo, still Munsaka.
M&C Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy. With individually registered companies, our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery, and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Pepsodent
cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, and you stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. Just send it this way, you hear my tina watch. New units now watch. No, be a baby, some was some demoni in us. Do you know him say? Fair quiet, yes, sim, Biara Association Ontario. Use stay soft and new units now watch. Nanny boss to tap from cry. A fabric softener, and you near say, sir. Choose to stay soft. No, who's so say, you know. FDID a dreading crack to yet.
Sasso, come tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Edrana drama in your session. Yeah, how can see our malaria? Minya me corn and miss a so spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come tonton preko. Sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Na ni sham ne die e demo strong ko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect. My name is Kwaku Asante. And before we get into the details, there are those who have submitted strongly that it will be a big betrayal of the memory of those who have perished if you allow Galamsey to continue to spread like cancer across this nation. It will be an insult to their sacrifice if you bury them, wipe our tears, and then go back to pretending that this problem will fix itself. Because it will not. It hasn't in the last 20 years, and if you don't do anything new, it will not fix itself in the next 20 years either. Galamsey is not just a mining issue, it's an existential crisis. Our forests are being stripped bare. Our cocoa farms are disappearing under the scars of these open pits. Our rivers, Pra, Ofin, and Cobra, Tano, Brim, once lifelines for communities, are now poisoned streams choked with mercury and silt. Children in mining areas are growing up with polluted water. And so this is not just about the environment, it's all about all of us to get to the bottom of this and fix them once and for all.
Ghana manba. Umamayembo asase a yen nananum de jaw yen huban. Na inchirimba ambre. Ambre. Ambre.
Think about the future children. Man.
There was one community formed in the forest, one of the...
Yes.
Which he...
I recall.
Yes, he went and made sure that they demolished that community. It was creating havoc in our river bodies and all that. That was one of the first things he did. A lot of people were not monitoring that.
Yeah, and this is because of illegal mining and cocoa production declining, deforestation and rising a violent crime every day.
So, big conversation this evening on Ghana Connect, and joining me in studio, Kwaku Asante, the Media Relations Officer of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Recall, they organized the Outcomes Dep event, which these public officials were attending, that led to this very tragic incident. Kwaku Asante is with me in studio. Asante, it's good to have you connect with us.
Yeah, it's a privilege to always be here. Good evening,
Right, we will also be connecting on Zoom. Ernesto Yeboah is convener of the One Ghana movement. Ernesto, it's good to have you connect with us. Hello, Ernesto Yeboah, if you can unmute. Okay, I'll get to Ernesto pretty shortly. Mo Salam Andani is international policy analyst and research assistant at the University of Belgrade. Is also connected with us on Zoom. Mo, it's good to have you connect with us.
Thank you very much, Kwaku. It's always a pleasure.
And definitely one person that I always look forward to listening to, Awula Sewa, coordinator of Echo Conscious Ghana, and she's connecting with us on Zoom as well. Awula, it's good to have you connect with us.
Thank you very much. It's always good to be with you.
Great. So Awula, let me start with you. This government is 7 months in office. There are those who said that, listen, they are just doing touch and go, dilly-dallying and all that. Shanov is here. He will respond to some of those substantives. But have you seen anything that shows that we are really serious about this fight against Galamsey? And definitely you can start with your commiserations and your words about this very tragic incident, and all of them going to this program that is geared towards fighting illegal mining.
I mean, everybody who has a heart is devastated. I mean, 8 families have been ripped apart. So our condolences go to the families, you know, the spouses, the children, the parents. I mean, 8 families have been ripped apart. But we also know that the illegal mining has claimed so many lives. We look at all the children who are falling into open pits and died. We look at the police officers who drowned whilst actively chasing illegal miners. And, you know, I'm not sure many people heard about that. Then we also know about forestry officers who have been attacked. A couple have been killed in the line of duty, actively fighting the environmental terrorists. The list goes on and on and on. What happened, the helicopter crash, should draw a line of the suffering. We should say enough is enough. The only way we can honor all those who have died, you know, by something to do with illegal mining is to stop this canker. As you rightly said, we face an existential threat, and no amount of gold or money can replace clean water, can replace our forests, can replace our butterflies. So what we need to do is to stop this canker. And I can't honestly say that what we expected has been done. Whilst the current administration was in opposition, we understood that when they came, they would declare a targeted state of emergency. This hasn't happened. We're expecting the repeal of LI 2462, which allows mining in forest reserves. This hasn't happened. There's been an amendment. We didn't ask for an amendment. What we were promised and what the president said was that there would be a repeal, not an amendment. And of course, we asked for a pause in all forms of small-scale mining, and others have added their voice. Just recently, we got a report from our brothers at Yao Krom in the Western North region. They are saying that one form of mining, whether you want to call it community mining, whatever you want to call it, is being forced down their throats. They are cocoa farmers, they love their cocoa farms. They do not want mining, and they don't want it to be pushed down their throat. So we need to enshrine the rights of communities to refuse mining if they don't want it. So I would say that there's a lot to be done. I commend the IGP. He's been doing a very good job. Recently, we know what happened in one of the areas. The professionalism of the police ensured that sanity prevailed. So we're not going to say that nothing has been done. There's a lot of good work being done. But if we really want to get rid of the canker, we need to take the bull by its horns, declare a targeted state of emergency, go to our forest reserves, farmlands, water bodies, remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment. And then we need to deal with the police command, the MCEs, the chiefs in the localities where there's illegal mining, because without their complicity or negligence, this cannot happen in the way in which it's happening.
Ernesto, I wonder if you agree with the points that have been canvassed by Awula, who really has an organization that have been going down to the grounds, looking at these data and talking about how bad the situation is getting and how we must really get to work.
Absolutely, Kwaku. And greetings to you and to our wonderful listeners out there. I think that the greatest commiseration that could come from the leadership of this country is to simply follow what my sister Aula Sawa has just poured out. Repeal LI 2462, declare a targeted state of emergency, take direct and serious actions, commonsensical actions that will lead to resolving this menace we have tied around our necks. If the loss of lives doesn't mean anything to any of us, I don't want to think that it doesn't mean anything to President Mahama, because these are some of his very close friends. It goes beyond politics and governance. These are some of his very, very close friends. Omane Boama and Co. are his very close friends. I'm in confidence that as he's put it. And in trying to, as it were, pussyfoot this thing that needed to be dealt head on, Omane is gone. Mutala is gone. The 6 others are gone. And so I think that we have to see more action. When I heard that President Mahama was going to address the nation, I felt that these were some of the things that he was going to put, out there, that from henceforth, so and so, but it was a missed opportunity. It's not too late. I think that something could still be done. We have buried our heroes, and as we are trying to put closure to it, I would say that let us not put this test that we are all going through as a nation to waste. I think that we have a chance in history to turn the page on the positive side and say that after this tragedy happened, Galamsey stopped or Galamsey ended. If we do not hit, the nail right on its head on that, it will be very difficult for Mahama to please anybody. Look, they can reduce the CD dollar ratio to 1 peswa, to $1. If they do not resolve the Galamsey issue, it will continue to constitute a blot. And it's the most visible failure of the Mahama administration so far. Take it or leave it. Every time Galamsey is talked about, despite the enormous goodwill they have, they look so bad.
Shandoff, you've heard there from around the table, there's a big conversation. There's a big concern that there's so much touch and go and not decisive action. The government promised, while in opposition, to repeal LI 2462. They come and they say, oh, let's amend it, let's do this. Listen, we need to do this, like Ernesto says.
Yeah, well, so first off, once again, good evening to yourself and to the rest of our listeners across the globe. Before I move on with my substantive submission on this matter, let me seize the opportunity to indicate that we at the ministry are greatly devastated by the recent turn of events. Indeed, we commiserate with the bereaved family and we share the pain, particularly the sector minister, the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi Boa, has felt the brunt of it, and we pray that our departed comrades and fallen heroes would rest in peace. Now, quickly to the substantive. Fight against illegal mining. Indeed, it's one of the topmost priorities, or if you like, the principal concern when it comes to the concerns of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And that is why, as of now, we are revamping, or like I've indicated on other platforms, we are adding more momentum to the fight against illegal mining. I want to react specifically to the concerns about the declaration of a state of emergency and the perception that we have reneged on that promise. Now, as of the time we were calling, back in opposition, we were calling for the declaration of a state of emergency. It was on the back of the fact that around that time, we had 9 of our forest reserves that had been besieged by armed illegal miners. Indeed, these illegal miners had encroached these respective forest reserves in such a way that they were not in the custody of the state. Indeed, they had become terrorized areas, if I have to put it that way. But within a period of 6 months, specifically from January up to now, we have been able to repossess these forest reserves that previously were not in the custody of the state. And so, given that we have come this far, that I do not mean to say that the declaration is not a necessity now. No, that's not the argument. But I'm saying that the reason we were advocating for the declaration of a state of emergency was because of the capture of the 9 forest reserves. Indeed, we have 288 forest reserves across the country. 44 have been besieged and impacted, but we had 9 that had been branded and labeled and characterized as red zones. it was because of this 9 that we are calling for the declaration of the state of emergency. As we speak, all 9 have been effectively repossessed. And so it begs the question, the trigger that warranted the call is no longer on the table. Logically, one may want to ask, okay, why then do we go ahead with the declaration? Again, I am not even questioning the necessity of the declaration, but I'm just putting on record that the trigger, the principal trigger or fuel that was warranting the call is no longer there. Okay, but at this point
there's still mining going on.
Absolutely. I do not
been taken over completely, but
I do not
exactly.
I do not discount it. I'm just putting on record that the principal trigger that was calling for the declaration, that is the 9 forest reserves that had been besieged and occupied by armed illegal miners, have now been successfully repossessed. And so because that issue is no longer on the table, logically one may want to ask that, okay, shall we still proceed with the declaration? But at this point, I can also say that given where we are, this junction of our national life and this all-important crossroads, the ministry is considering every available alternative that would ensure that Galamsey conclusively becomes a thing of the past. And so there is the possibility that moving on, there may be an official communication as to the new approach that, or the added momentum that we are adding to the fight. Now let me touch on LI 2462 briefly. LI 2462, like we have always indicated, and the facts will bear us out, did not emanate from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Indeed, it was a brainchild of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. And as a general policy in government, normally when a ministry is advancing a proposition or is the one leading a legislation, you allow the ministry to handle it. But it is also a bit evasive for us to argue that because the law did not emanate from us, we cannot conversate on it, especially when the substance and thrust of the law is about illegal mining. And that is why, as of now, I can confidently tell you, that as I speak to you yesterday, for instance, there was a crunch cabinet meeting that was had to discuss the way forward around LI 2462. What we have done earlier was to amend section 3.2, which of course gave the discretionary power to the president to grant access to forest reserves. As of now, there is a conversation around the way forward, and I'm sure in due time the way forward will be communicated in the manner that would please all Ghanaians, because the truth of the matter is that now, like I've indicated, we are adding more momentum to the fight. We are firing from all cylinders because we need to get to a point where the greatest tributes that we can read, or the greatest tributes that we can give to our fallen heroes, is not the fact that we were wearing sad faces or we were adorned in black. It is to say that Galamsey has become a thing of the past, and the sector minister, the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua, is committed to that. The President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, also has that will. So in the not too distant future, I'm sure Ghanaians will hear very exciting streaks of news.
Mo Salam, I wonder if you are happy about anything you've heard so far.
Thank you very much, Kwaku, and a lovely good evening once again to all your listeners and viewers across the globe. And before I begin, I'd like to express my sincere condolences to the families of the bereaved and to the entire nation, especially to the President of the Republic. He's one who has been hit a lot by this tragedy. And so I wish that the good Lord comfort him and the families. And back to the issue of the Galamsey. I think what Kwaku has said, I agree in part, especially to the fact that 9 of the forest reserves have been reclaimed or repossessed by the state, which is good. But the question about declaration of the state of emergency, I've always asked, we live in a country where there's always this clamor about moving in Rambo style, getting things done and going out. And so when people talk about declaration of a state of emergency, I always ask, what is going to be the characteristics of this state of emergency? What will that mean to the average person or to the average Ghanaian or to you and I listening? So when we say, okay, the state should declare an emergency with regard to the fight against Galamsey, what would that be characterized by? Is it that we are calling in the military to swoop in and clear the forest? Or what actually are we talking about, especially when we say we should declare a state of emergency? I'm saying this because I am very particular about security in the country, and as someone who has interest in largely security in the region, we do not want to create environmental terrorists in the country. And trust me, this is how it started in Nigeria, how states moved in with force, brute force, without proper planning, without proper implementation strategies, and created terrorists in the state. And so, as for me, I refer to these people as environmental terrorists, but we do not want to further give these people the locus because they're already armed in these forests. And if we create a situation where it is not properly arranged, it's not properly structured, we're going to have a situation where we have to deal with a more armed and violent group of people who are already in the forest. They know the forest very well. This is the terrain they operate, and this is not the situation we want to create. And so when I hear about declaration of emergency, I've not heard anyone talk about what will that be? What is going to be the face of this emergency? What is the plan if they say the state declares an emergency? And remember, we've already seen how the militarized fight against Galamsey failed in the erstwhile administration. We saw bulldozers, we saw caterpillars bent, we saw all kinds of things. We saw helicopters flying over Galamsey pit. We saw a lot of things, but none of it actually materialized. And so we do not want to repeat mistakes that has happened in the past. And for me, what I think we can do is a very simple process. You know, I agree with Madam Aula and Comrade Ernesto in the fact that we have to go in hard. And how do we do that? Enforcing the existing laws, which is very important, like Kwaku mentioned, that there's a conversation going on about repealing the LI 2462. But the most important thing is that there should be a structural overhaul. You know, teams will have to be reshuffled to man the sites and the forest areas to prevent complacency. If you do not do this, just reclaiming the forest reserves or repossessing it alone will not solve the situation. And also, the stakeholder engagement should be broadened in the sense that traditional and local authorities should be brought into the conversation. I'm sure Parkwesi can throw more light on this. Remember, the existing rules did not include giving traditional rulers, a leeway in the licensing process, and so these people are left out. And so, they own the land, especially in some of these areas, if you do not add them or put them into the conversation, you are not going to have a lasting solution to this. And also, the technology that I'm talking about.
I want you to press it down there on the technology, because really one of the big conversations we need to have is about what exactly we are doing to solve it. And Aula Shandov talks about how the state of emergency, the targeted state of emergency, really that is moot now. Any question or call for it is moot, because they believe that the reason why a state of emergency ought to have been declared is if those forest reserves were still fully in control of the arms of illegal miners. But although there are still a couple of illegal mining happening in some of these forests, it doesn't consider that it's a necessity now. It also says that there was a cabinet meeting, a decision will be made on LI 2462. Perhaps it's not in his mouth to announce what exactly the decision has been. I wonder what your take is on the emergency question, as well as your expectation of LI 2462, given all the dilly-dallying this government has been doing since it came into office on January 7th.
Right. I would say that I think a couple of months ago, when Parliament was in recess, I remember listening to an interview, Honorable Sami Jamfi, and he had said that he had spoken to the Attorney General, and that when Parliament resumed, they were then on recess, LI 2462 would be repealed. The tape is there, I can send it to you. And of course, it hasn't yet happened. Now, talking about the forest reserves being under control, and that was the trigger, that was not my understanding, but of course, I'm not there. Now, if we look at the forest reserve, let's be completely honest. If we talk to people like Erastus Asaredonko, who are actually on the ground, I know that there was a time when Forestry Commission Rapid Response Team were attacked by 20 fully armed illegal miners who were still in the Jimera Forest Reserve, which was supposedly under control. It isn't. Recently, we're told that 50 excavators were going there, led by Chinese persons who were fully armed. This can be checked. So the forest reserves are vast. So maybe parts of it are under control. But to say that they are totally under control, according to my information, that is not the case. So if that was the trigger, then there is still the need to do so. And let me be clear, I'm not a military professional, But when we're talking about a targeted state of emergency, we know that our military...
Quick one. I didn't indicate that all the forest reserves are under control. Now, I said that we have a total of 288. I just want to clarify something. We have a total of 288. Out of these 288, we have 44 that have become the hotspots for illegal mining. Again, out of these 44, there are 9 that had been designated red spots, in the sense that the state could not even access it whatsoever because they had been conclusively occupied by illegal miners. Those 9 have been retrieved. Of course, you still have illegal miners still in the remaining forest, but it is those 9 those red spotted 9. They are the ones that have been repossessed. And so, just to put it on record, it's not the conversation, or the point is not that we have recovered all. No, it is just those 9, those red spots.
Sorry if I wasn't clear. I didn't say that. My understanding was that the Jimira Forest Reserve was amongst the 9 that are supposed to have been reclaimed. So correct me if I'm wrong. I was specifically talking about the Jimira Forest Reserve.
Yeah, it has. I mean, all of those 9 have been repossessed. All of those 9 have been.
There are no illegal mining currently.
So what we have done, for all the 9 that have been repossessed, of course, you do not leave them bare upon repossession. There is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, the official outfit that coordinates all the raids and swoops where illegal mining is concerned. What they have done is that they have mounted guard on all of those 9. And so to hear that there are still illegal miners in some of those places, of course, will be news to us that perhaps we would have to confirm. But based on the records we have and the reports that we receive, consistently, we understand thoroughly that those 9 do not have, as of now, armed illegal miners in them.
Let me be absolutely clear. There's even a report by Joy Online, and you can look at it. A Forestry Commission Rapid Response Team narrowly escaped death today, and the date was 21st July. Narrowly escaped death as about 20 fully armed illegal miners still operating within the Jimira Forest Reserve ambushed and opened fire. And then recently, we had the report by Erastus Asaredonko, a very, very credible journalist, that about 50 excavators had entered the forest reserve with armed men. So this is what has been reported. I'm sure it can easily be checked. So I'm just using this as an example. It's only an example. And I perfectly understood what you said. And I'm saying that the Jimira Forest Reserve, according to our information, it is still under siege. And as we speak, the 50 excavators, I don't know if since the report was made a couple of days, they've been removed. But as at when I got the information, they were there.
Okay, we don't have that record, but you can proceed. But we don't have that record.
Yes, and I do have it. And it was on the Facebook page of Erastus Asaredonko, as I said, a very credible journalist who has put his life on the line regarding this illegal mining. So, and again, you're absolutely right that we are lay people. So when we say targeted state of emergency, what we are saying is that there'll be clear terms of reference. We don't believe in shoot and kill. We're not in the jungle. So we don't believe in going there to shoot and kill. The primary purpose, there'll be clear terms of reference, no political interference whatsoever. The clear terms of reference will be to go to the forest reserves, because not all are under control, as we've just said. The water bodies, a lot of them have been diverted. There's mining going there as we speak, farmlands, and remove the environmental terrorists and their equipment. It's not to go with the intention of killing people. But of course, if the terrorists open fire, the army would have to defend itself. But that's not to say that they go Rambo style, just prepared to kill. Their mission is to retrieve or shall I say, to retake the forest reserves. So that would be their terms of reference. And I'm sure our very well-trained professional military will know what to do. So we employ the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force to deal with the situation. So they will know the specifics. We are not in position to detail what the specifics are going to be. And also, another thing we'd like is that all those who were named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report should be thoroughly investigated. And we should also apply the polluter pays principle, so that if they are investigated, prosecuted, and found guilty, in addition to any term of imprisonment, their assets should be sold and used towards a very expensive cost of reclamation. We all talk about gold, but when we look at apart from the damage to the environment, the existential threat we are facing, the poisoning, the rise in kidney disease and all that sort of thing. Also, our food chain has also been contaminated. So
that point about
losing
exactly that point about the food chain is so important about what we are eating and all the things that have been going on. Ernesto, this government has been doing certain things like water guards. There are those who say that, listen, those are just pure jokes. That you send military to some of these places, they cannot even get the legal miners of the water bodies. And we send really unarmed, really some political food soldiers perhaps who have been recruited to go and do this. We call them river guards. We deploy them.
No, Kwaku, I think hold on. I think it's unfair to characterize the Blue Water Guards as party food soldiers.
Hold on, Shanda. No, but I'm saying that there are those who said that the recruitment of persons.
But when you reiterate it, it gives it that imprimatur of truth, and I'm saying we shouldn't do that. I mean, because they are not party food soldiers. If for the purposes of clarity, yes. So allow me
recruitment.
Allow me clarify in 30 seconds.
I'll come to you, Shanda, because I want to hear from Ernesto on what he makes on the river guards and whether it's any solution at all towards dealing with this. Then you can respond to some of those plus any issues that Mo may have.
Yeah, Kwaku, I think that you are not wrong in making reference to those who have referred to some of them or all of them as party foot soldiers. What was the recruitment process, for instance? How transparent was it? Was there a publicized advertisement that called for enlistment? I mean, because it's a state, how do you call it, effort to curb a menace. And yet the processes of recruitment were very, 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 very opaque. And so one would not be wrong in describing them as such, but I don't think that's the fundamental point there. What we need to understand is that there is also a commonsensical aspect of this whole fight. Once upon a time, our river bodies, our water bodies were clean. We could fetch comfortably anywhere and confidently drink, knowing that nothing will happen to us. Is that the case today? Your media colleagues elsewhere every day would put out, bottles of contaminated water as a way of drawing the significance of what is happening in these mining communities. We've seen it, over and over and over again. Why were they from time to time showing these colored water? It's because we're talking about Galamsey. And so the whole idea about a state of emergency is so that the state can exercise control. So long as we see that our water bodies are still not clear as they used to be before, what it tells me as an ordinary person is that my state is not in control, or my state is complicit. In fact, 2 days ago, Erastus Asare released, information indicating that it would appear that certain national officers are involved, are complicit in what is happening. And he's been pointing them out. Is it not surprising, Kwaku, that to date, it would appear that ordinary journalists like Erastus have more information than our national security apparatus combined? So there is some lacks that has to be addressed. And so when we talk about the state of emergency, that's precisely what we are talking about. That look, there has to be a situation where the state is firmly in control, and then we know that, okay, it is in control because our water bodies are clean. Until then, the state is not in control, and no pussyfooting would wash that away. I see solution on three practical levels. There's a political, yes. For all these were many years. And then ask yourself, how were our forefathers and foremothers involved in mining. They were mining. But how were they involved in these mining practices? Then came the period of concession where colonialism placed, a moratorium or a ban on locals from mining. And so you had the Anglo Gold Ashantis and co having concessions, and they were the only ones who had the right to mine. Then a period came where people entered into, the fray, and with Chinese, mechanization and scientific blah, 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 entered into the field. And these locals now became rich. They started getting money. Now, some politicians, in fact, almost every mining pit you see has some politicians behind it. And so this is what we are talking about. And that's why it is important for all of us to address the issues with all the honesty that has to be displayed. Otherwise, we are going to come back next year, 10 years' time, and we still haven't resolved this, and it would even be worse. Because the more gold they take, the richer they become. And the richer they become, the more sophisticated they become. So are we dealing with a banana republic, a failed state, or what? If that is the case, President Mahama should be man enough to come out and tell the public that Ghanaians, I have failed you as your commander-in-chief because I'm unable to put a hand on the situation.
Mo, I want to take your brief point also on some of the measures that have been taken, particularly the river guards and all that. Very briefly, then Shandoff can respond to some of these issues that you and Esto and then I will have raised.
Oh, okay. So, Kwaku, you know what? When we talk about the river guards, like I mentioned earlier on, you see, we cannot say that it is useless or they are not important, okay? Like I mentioned, the solutions are supposed to be multifaceted in the sense that when we retrieve these forest reserves, when we retrieve these areas that has been destroyed by these Galamseyers, these environmental terrorists, we need people to man those sites, okay? And that is where the river guards comes in. Like, let me borrow these security terms and say, we have peace enforcement and we have peace. So when we are doing peacekeeping and peace enforcement, the military and the police, or those who are enforced, who are equipped with the necessary skills and resources to go and seize these bodies, they have their task. So they can go in, retrieve these sites, and the river guards who are not overly sophisticated or who are armed can go and man those sites. So they are just there to ensure that the sites are not reclaimed or repossessed by these terrorists. And so it is important in the sense that they are doing a different job altogether differently. And so I don't think it is out of place to put river guards or to put people in place to man those sites. It is important because you cannot just let the police or the soldiers reclaim those sites and leave. The next day you are going to have these people back on those sites. And so there should be some sort of supervision and some sort of coordination. And so I think it's an important job they are doing. But we as Ghanaians, like I always say, we look down upon the systems that we are trying to build. Like people are saying, oh, they are party foot soldiers and all that. You have created an impression that these people are not important. You are not going to obey them. You are not going to respect them. You are not going to give them the maximum cooperation to ensure that they do the job that you and I need them to do. And so when you already discredit them in the first instance, it means that you yourself do not believe in the job that they are going to do. And that is the problem with the Ghanaians. We have to change. Look, in the UK, for instance, you have police officers on the streets who are holding whistles. Nothing. They don't have guns. It's just whistles. Okay, someone can steal something and they are running after you with a whistle. But in Ghana, we have police officers who are holding AK-47 and rifles. So it is about the system. It's about the people. It's about the culture. It's also about how we approach the system that we are trying to build. We have to respect the systems. There's no difference between us and the Western world. And so it's all about our mindset. But that notwithstanding, I still believe that the government can do more in the sense that this is a time that they have to go in there, not just guns blazing, but with a strategic solution to ending this menace once and for all. And for me, I'm into security, so I don't believe in using that extreme force. I believe in strategic deployment of security. I believe we can use brute force where necessary, especially if they resist, because there's always a chance of a spillover. And when we create this environmental terrorism in our country, we're going to have serious problems to deal with, not just environmental degradation, but also security.
Especially now that this thing has been going on for decades. There are those who believe that the peacekeeping approach has outlived its usefulness, and it must be peace enforcement, like the government says now in Boko. But
and also the thing is that, Kwaku, one last thing, we have to approach it differently. These people, majority of them are unemployed. They are jobless, and so we cannot just boot them out like that. There should be a system.
But there are those who say that armed robbers can give an excuse that they are unemployed. You don't allow that to go on. If you do something illegal, you have to be dealt with, whether you are unemployed, whatever it is. I mean, there are those who raise those concerns. But more hold it for me, because Shandorf wants to respond to some of the issues that have been raised, and then we can.
Okay, so let me just conclude on that.
No, I'll return to you on that. Let me hear from Shandorf, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
All right, Kwaku. So first off, I want to touch on the perception that has been conveyed on this platform that of course it's a perception because it's not grounded in any fact or reality, that the blue water guards hold on no, I need you to hold on exactly. So the fact that you are not privy to the protocols or the nuances of the recruitment does not necessarily mean that the entire process was embedded in opacity. That's quite a hasty conclusion. The fact that you do not know the protocols doesn't mean you should allege some irregularity anywhere. But the truth of the matter is that, hold on, so allow me to clarify. That's okay. So allow me to clarify. Allow me to clarify. Okay, at an appropriate time, I shall take you through the comprehensive steps that informed the recruitment. No, it's because of time, really. But this is how the blue water guards actually operate, or this is how they came into being. First of all, they are not a combative troop. What they do existentially is to provide domestic intelligence that helps the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariats to carry on with their responsibility. So let's take an enclave, a jurisdiction, or let's say an area like Kokomlemle, for example. If illegal mining were happening here, and we were to commission blue water guards here in this particular township, the persons who would be constituted in that group would just be people who live in the area. They serve as watchdogs, and then they provide information, and that is open to everybody, respective of your political affiliation or any disparity whatsoever. And so it is not an assembly or a convocation of party foot soldiers as has been perceived and articulated, and we just have to put that on record. Indeed, anybody at all in the communities, and of course you're practicing journalist, you can go ahead and confirm to see, randomize, just find out from any of the communities where the blue water guards are operating. You realize that they are just quote and unquote ordinary community folks who are just providing intelligence, and so that is why they don't even have to be armed. Indeed, the intelligence they provide is useful to the actual combative outfits. That is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, led by its Director of Operations. But I want to also quickly touch on a concern that Ernesto was raising. Clearly, he seems to have come to that point where he doesn't believe in the political class and the leadership establishment to deal decisively with illegal mining. He feels that the political class have, as it were, been compromised, or they don't have the wherewithal to fight the menace and the elephant in the room. But look at this. It is only 3 weeks ago, if my memory serves me right, that we had the third national vice chairman of the ruling party, the National Democratic Congress, as well as the party's national organizer, being subject of scrutiny over the same illegal mining issue. You have to now begin to look at the issue this way. These people belong to the ruling party. If the government of the day, the sector of the day, the ministry and all the other relevant agencies can afford to probe key members. Again, these are not people on the peripheries. These are not, if you like, ordinary foot soldiers. This is the third national vice chairman of the ruling National Democratic Congress. Again, you are looking at the party's national organizer. If these individuals can be probed, then where lies the argument or the concern that there is no political will to deal decisively with illegal mining? How do we rationalize it when the same ruling government is effectively effectively chasing its own people. What we have to do is that in as much as we should be desirous of very good outcomes, we should also be sensitive to the time. It is only 7 months, and I'm not saying that exclusively, but then you look at what we have achieved in this 7-month period, and you begin to question, over the past 8 years, were we chalking such results? The 9 forests that had then been captured by illegal miners, what happened after 6 months of our stay in power? But I want to wrap up and just take us through what the ministry is properly doing. Unfortunately, our fallen heroes were on their way to a particular event, which was the launch of the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program. What is the essence and thrust of that initiative? When you go to most of the mining communities, the justification many of the young folks have had is that they do not have any active economic enterprise. Basically, they do not work, and that is why they venture into illegal mining. What we are doing now is that, indeed, we have never said mining is bad, but what we are doing is that for such communities where it appears that mining is the delight of the locals, they can now begin to do it responsibly through the creation of the cooperatives, and that is effectively the program that we have brought on board. In fact, not everybody is even supposed to do mining or can do mining. Those who are not interested, we are going to offer them entrepreneurial skills and other expertise so that they have a means of livelihood. That way, we have removed the argument or the justification that that is why I'm going into the pits. Indeed, those who still want to do mining, this time around, it will be regulated, community-owned, community-supervised, with an additional policy layer of reclamation, such that after the excavation and all of that, we return the land to its pristine state. That is the essence of the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program. In addition to that, there are 4 other policies or interventions that the ministry is rolling as of now. For instance, we are reforming the entire licensing regime, and that is why as of now, from the time we took office, we have not issued any new license to anybody to embark on the venture of illegal mining. There is also the strong enforcement of the laws. That is why we have the NIMOS, and I want to use the platform to reiterate that apart from the National Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, there is nobody or no outfit whatsoever that has been given the clearance to embark on any raids and swoops, and they are doing well. In fact, it is only just last week that an additional 11 Chinese were arrested. That has gotten to do with the enforcement of the laws and then the regulations. Finally, on the other 2, to add to the 5 that we are doing, indeed, we are also embarking on land reclamation. Kwaku, we have a total of about some 7,500 hectares of land that have been devastated. No, 5,500 hectares rather. The equivalent of that, if you are looking at it pictorially, is some about 5,500 football fields. That is how come we even have the Tree for Life initiative now, an initiative that is supposed to return the land to their pristine state. All of that is currently ongoing, and we are also deepening awareness and education. So by way of summary, first, we are reforming the licensing regime, we are enforcing the laws, we are embarking on land reclamation, we are providing alternative livelihood through efforts such as the RCOMSDEP, and then also we are embarking on the land reclamation. All of these, plus the added political will from the sector minister, the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibo, and the President John Dramani Mahama, are things that naturally would yield results, except that the results would not be or may not be immediate. But in the not too distant future, this certainly will be a thing in the past to honor our fallen heroes.
We understand yesterday there was a cabinet meeting. The government says it's deploying new strategies. There's going to be tough. Very briefly, what will be expectation going forward if government is to take up a new approach to fight Galamsey head on, in the memory and in honor of these people who lost their lives on the same line?
Very quickly, I think we should even stop using the term Galamsey and just call it what it is, irresponsible mining, because as has been said by Ernesto, our ancestors have been mining for many, many years, but they were using hand tools. This is on a completely different level. Destruction with excavators, Chanfan. So it's not actually Galamsey, which was like come and gather. But I want to make a correction. You see, the so-called cooperative mining scheme, it suffers from the same flaw as community mining. The intentions might be good, but if you don't get it right, you might have a worse situation than before. I'd like to know the monitoring regime within the cooperative mining. So those who intend to do mining, we still haven't put in a robust monitoring and enforcement regime.
So I will needs she needs clarification.
I beg you, because we want this conversation to flow. Please hold on. You will come back. You will come back after she wraps up, so that we are just about 3 minutes to end up. So, right, please hold on. Hold that for me, and Aula, please make the point you want to make very briefly. Then we can wrap it up.
Community mining scheme, lack of robust enforcement. And I just want to end by saying that we need to pause the community mining or cooperative mining. We have the case of cocoa. We have cocoa farmers in Atronsu who were doing what you want the Blue Water Guards to do. They were guarding their Atronsu stream from the environmental terrorists, and they rather have been charged by the police because they were trying to ensure that their environment remained pristine, and that was not being the case. Somebody was brandishing a community mining license and mining in such a way that their Atronsu stream was being polluted. I'm afraid that the same thing is going to happen in the cooperative mining scheme if we don't go back to the drawing board and make sure that what we have launched, we suspend it until we have everything in place, and the monitoring and enforcement, which is key, has been addressed. As it stands, it lacks the teeth to deal with people who go outside the parameters of any license they've been granted.
Right.
Short-circuiting the licensing, the granting of license, doesn't mean that because people have got licenses, then they are going to adhere to the terms of their license.
Right. Ernesto, very briefly, what should the new approach be for you? Very briefly, shoot to kill and all those things. I know you don't support those things.
I think that, first of all, the laws have to be changed. The resources of this country should no longer be vested in one person. That's the president, as the 1992 Constitution says. It should be vested in the people, so that the people would at every point in time have the right to decide whether they want to exploit their mineral resources or not. Second, in relation to the legal issues, I mean, yes, we've arrested for people who are not nationals of this country. And what happens? We see the interior minister leading them to the airport carrying their bags. I mean, if this is how we want to fight Galamsey, I mean, or illegal mining, well, it's up to us. But I don't think that if I were caught involved in illegal mining activity in China, I mean, the interior minister would be the person to walk me to the No, I would pay for it in China. And so we have to be a serious country and advance, I mean, these new about to be announced measures by the president and government, I mean, in a way that we see that, okay, it's going to bring results. Until the color of our water bodies change, they are doing nothing.
They're doing nothing, and we haven't won the fight. Mo, last word to you before Shandov, very briefly. Hello,
all right, thank you very much, Kwaku. Lastly, what I would say is that for me, I'm still very devastated by what happened. And for that matter, I will not forgive this government if we do not end this menace. And I'm very sure the kids that are going to inherit this earth, the kids that are going to be born and inherit Ghana would not forgive the leaders if we are not able to put a stop to this. And for a fact, I know no one likes the situation. And my point also goes to the people. It's also about our character. It's also about our attitudes towards some of these systems. We have to respect the laws. We have to also do better to support government and also to help the authorities fight this. It is the same people who live in these communities who lead the Chinese to these forest reserves. It is us. It is the same farmers who sell their cocoa farms to these people. So we also have to change our character. And lastly, like I said, the point I was trying to make, we have to attack this issue in a multifaceted way. There are jobs that we have to create so that people will be able to migrate to do certain things. In fact, people will not be able to leave high school or colleges of education and go into mining pits, some of which terribly die and destroy our water bodies and our forest reserve. And so I believe that government should come up with a robust framework that will not only end Galamsey, but also migrate some of these people into well-functioning jobs that they can also depend on. Thank you very much.
Yes, Shandoff, last word, very briefly.
So, if like press more fire up the pitch, revamp the raft of interventions that you are rolling out to deal decisively with the menace, and expand all the strategies. If you do all of this put together and you do not have the needed political will, it will be much ado about nothing. And that is why consistently I have said that the most critical ingredients that we need to deal with illegal mining is the political will. Thankfully, by the grace of God, by the special grace of God, we have that abundantly manifest in the Sector Minister, Honorable Emmanuel Amakufibwa. The President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is indeed bathing in that same pool of willingness to allow the fight to stop. And that is why very soon it would indeed become a thing of the past. And these are not mere rhetorics or empty platitudes. I have to put on record that these dispositions that I'm talking about with respect to how the Sector Minister is postured and the disposition of the President, all of that can be verified by all the efforts that we have seen so far. LI 2462, like I've indicated, there's the cabinet conversation that has gone on in the weeks to come. A formal conversation and communication would be published in that particular respect. And very soon, we're going to deal with this issue in honor of our fallen heroes.
Definitely. And tomorrow, Newsfile is going to be discussing a lot more on this. So don't miss Newsfile tomorrow with something Ladi and Yenini. Thank you very much, Shandoff. Kwaku Asante, he is the Media Relations Officer of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. He also had Ernesto Yeboah, convener of the is Ernesto Yeboah Economic Fighters League, Mo Salamandani, International Policy Analyst and Research Assistant at the University of Belgrade, and also, as always, Awula Sewa of Eco Conscious Ghana. My name is Kwaku Asante. I'll see you again same time next week. Up next is Andy Dusty with the library.
Ghana Manba. Mayembo asase a yen nananum de jaw yen huban na inchirimba ambre.